Hey everybody, let's all ride the trolley, or at the very least, look at a bunch of variations on the classic trolley problem, just for the heck of it. What would I do in any of these situations? Well, I guess we'll have to find out, won't we? So let's get at it. I've wanted to do this for a very long time now, but I never really got to it. This is a look, kind of, at the classic trolley problem on a site called neil.fun, where he goes through a bunch of variations on the classic trolley problem and lets you pick what to do. The trolley problem is, in short, if you saw a trolley rolling towards something, typically people tied to the track, would you divert the trolley and have something else happen or not? So let's get going and see what I'd do and why. So, starting off, oh no, a trolley is heading towards 5 people. You can pull the lever to divert it to the other track, killing one person instead. What would you do? Now, personally, in a lot of these, you'll see that. I think you're going to find I'm not going to do anything. Because here's the thing. If you make a choice, then whatever outcome, no matter what it is, it's now your fault and your responsibility. You took action and you made it happen. If you do nothing, then it's just the world being the world and it's not your fault. It happens as it would if you weren't even there at all. Now, there are all kinds of justifications you can throw in there, but mine is really simple. I'm a realist. Shit happens. So let's let them splat and then we'll see some results at the bottom. Only 27% of people agree with me. Too bad. There's a lot of factors that go into this. First, I don't know any of these people, at least the trolley problem doesn't say that I do, and therefore, I'm sorry, but I've got no vested interest in them at all. I'm not a humanist, remember? I don't necessarily care if random people die. Lots of people die every single day, and we don't know why these people are on the tracks in the first place. Did they tie themselves up? Did they deserve it? Therefore, without some kind of answer to a whole lot of questions, I'm just going to let it happen. Moving on. This time, and I'm just going to summarize most of these without reading the text on screen, but you can divert it to hit 4 people instead of 5. And my answer is pretty much the same. Maybe a whole bunch of people want to commit suicide by trolley today. I'm not going to deny them. The fact that it's 4 instead of 5 doesn't bother me one bit. According to the World Health Organization, more than 700,000 people kill themselves every single year. The world leader for that, if you're curious, is South Korea, just per 100,000 people. If that's what these people want to do, then more power to them, as long as it's their decision and they're not being bullied into it or coerced or whatever. We have no indication of what has happened for any of these people to be on the tracks, and it's not my job to decide why they're there. So, another 5 go splat. Let's watch. Here, 33% of people agree with me. Now, I don't really care. This is not a popularity contest. I'm just letting the problem run as it does. The same thing that I said for the first question, the classic trolley problem, they go here as well, and they probably will for quite a few of these. So, next. Oh, look, more idiots on the tracks. I can either hit 5 people or destroy my life savings. Now, I think we're going to have to address the reality here because these questions, let's be honest, they are really dumb. There is no way that my life savings, or anybody else's in the modern world, could possibly be destroyed by a trolley, especially, as I said, in the modern era. Because most of it is electronic and decentralized. It's not like you've got a bunch of cash under your mattress that can be stacked on the tracks. And even if there was, just being hit by a trolley wouldn't destroy all of it. You might get some crinkled up $100 bills, but you can fix that, right? You can take it to a bank and have them exchange them as long as you've got all the bits and pieces. You also have to ask yourself just how much of that stuff you could actually stack on the tracks before the trolley would just stop. I mean, this isn't some rocket-powered trolley. If you put your house up there, if you could possibly do that, it might punch through the wall, but that can be fixed and it wouldn't get that far into the house, would it? You can't really think about these questions too much or it just gets silly. Plus, here you've got a potential personal snake in the answer. You might save those people that you have no reason to care about in the first place, but then you lose everything. So between these two elements, I'm going to do absolutely nothing. If it was your personal fortune will get destroyed if you don't pull the switch, yeah, that might be something else, but that's not the question being asked, is it? Here we're up to 40% of people who agree, and I haven't really done anything different, right? I could have gone out to lunch and nothing would have changed. And I think that's kind of funny, don't you? But anyway, let's continue. Let's see, 5 people versus me. Well, I do have a vested interest in my own survival. Everybody does. And if the situation was reversed, then I would absolutely pull the switch, although honestly, I don't know how I could if I'm tied to the tracks. What am I supposed to do? Grab it with my teeth? Like I said, you just can't think about these too much because they're kind of dumb if you do. I don't know, maybe I've got an electronic switch in my pocket? I don't know. Or maybe I've got Superman on speed dial. I've got no clue. However, these people are dead and I'm not going to feel bad about it at all. Me versus random strangers? I pick me. Granted, there could be some nuance here. What if I was old or sick? I mean, I am old, but I'm healthy. What if I wanted to end it all? Then it really wouldn't matter what was on the other track. I'd be pushing that button, right? This is why thinking about it doesn't help, because you wind up reading things into it that aren't actually there. I'm trying really hard to stick to what's actually on screen. Therefore, I'm sticking with doing nothing, although it is mostly for the same reason I always have. Let's see the statistics, though. Hey, we're up to 61%, and really, I don't know how honest a lot of people are being. No, I'm not necessarily doubting other people's sincerity, but I'm not either. And this goes back to something that I've asked a lot around here. How many people who report being religious, part of a dominant religious belief structure, actually believe it, and how many are just saying they believe it because they think it makes them look good to the neighbors? How many are actually being honest? And that's a good question, even for a test like this, where it's presumably completely anonymous. I mean, if you're not taking it with somebody looking over your shoulder. How many people allow what they assume people are going to think about them to color their answers? I have no idea. You tell me. This time out, it's those 5 dumb motherfuckers on the track versus the Mona Lisa. Now, in this case, I would probably pull the switch. Now, I don't care about the art per se, original as specified here, but let's be honest, how many copies are out there? How many people would honestly miss it? How many people have ever been to the Louvre to see the original? I haven't, and I don't care. I don't think the Mona Lisa just hanging in a museum is doing anything of demonstrable substance to better mankind, whereas one of these losers might, or might not, I don't know. Still, the chances that one of these trolley targets might get up and do something worthwhile is a lot higher than a painting just hanging on a wall doing anything. So in this case, they're going to get a nod. Anyhow, that's my rationalization. What's yours? 76% of people agree. And that's a whole lot of art haters, right? Now, I probably would have said the same thing about any physical object that I didn't personally own or have any kind of attachment to, and that didn't have a direct and demonstrable impact on my life. Let it get destroyed. I don't care. I'm not that concerned. Onward! What do we get to run over next? Okay, a bribe. Some rich guy wants to pay you to pull the switch. Well, I guess it depends on how much, let's be honest. But in pretty much all situations, no, I'm not touching the switch. Let the fucker die. I don't really care. I am not for sale. Meanwhile, I'm going out for lunch while the trolley goes by because I'm not for sale. I don't need your money. Next. Here, 48% of people agree, and I'm really a little surprised it isn't higher, just for the sake of virtue signaling. See, I can't be bought. Or the inevitable, well, I'm jealous of people who are successful, so I'm going to squish the fuck. And I see a lot of that out there. You know what might have changed my mind? If someone who is demonstrably doing incredible things for the world on the track versus somebody who had never done anything worthwhile. Then I figure I'd probably be pulling that switch. What can you do for the world that might not get done if you become trolley pizza? Again, that's overthinking the problem. You're not supposed to be thinking about things that aren't in the question because these are not part of the question, right? But I figure we're all a little prone to that anyhow, right? So how about you? What would you do? Five lobsters against a cat. I figure deconverted man would probably hate this. He'd be yanking that switch all damn day. Again, 5 random lobsters to which I have absolutely no attachment against a cat that, at least in this example, I also have no attachment. Yeah, I'm going out to lunch. Or maybe I'll wait till the trolley goes by and have lunch right there. Who knows? I mean, I like lobster. In fact, just thinking about that makes me want to go out for seafood. That aside, though, if I don't care about random people, I'm not going to care about random lobsters either. Now, if there were puppies involved, that might be another matter. And I might switch tracks if it was 5 kittens and a bunch of lobsters on the other side. But that's not the question that was asked, was it? So, onward. "84%. I'm not at all surprised by that since people tend to be a lot more attached to cute and cuddly critters, and lobsters, whether deconverted man likes it or not, they're not cuddly. I don't think they're popular pets anywhere, not that that really matters. It's just interesting seeing where I think people are getting their emotions involved. I'm actually a little bit surprised it isn't higher. Five people who won't feel pain against one who will. Well, I don't know that being asleep means that you won't feel pain. If they were in a medically induced coma, yeah, that might be something since they can't wake up. But how do 5 people in comas get on the tracks in the first place? That's another question entirely. But no, I'm still not doing anything because none of these minor variations are really changing my mind. So let the trolley run. At least I don't have to clean it up. "49% of people agree. I mean, it's not like these people can't wake up or anything when the trolley starts to go over. And I don't really think that pain only exists in the conscious mind, which is why I brought up the whole coma thing, even though we don't really know how pain is processed in the subconscious either. Again, overthinking doesn't get us anywhere, so let's just keep going. Five people who tied themselves to the track somehow against someone who is just stupid and tripped and fell on his face, and I figure he probably deserves it. This is one of those cases where you probably need 2 trolleys because I've got absolutely no sympathy for any of them. This is probably closer to that suicide discussion that we had earlier. It doesn't bother me at all. If you want to die, go for it. I don't care. I might make the trolley back up a couple of times just to make sure. And that guy on the top, though, I'm just going to park the trolley right on top of him and make it peel out. And really, why's the guy who tripped and fell pictured being tied up? Did he tie himself up before he tripped on the tracks? Because I think that would be kind of interesting to watch. He's still got to die, but it would still be really funny to watch. 79% of people agree, just let the trolley go. Now, I think it's funny that there isn't an option to just stop the trolley, since in the animation, the trolley's just kind of sitting there until you decide. Couldn't you just walk over and stop it in every single case? Granted, there wouldn't be a dilemma then, but I've never really been an A or B guy. Work outside the box if you can, but that's probably a little high-minded for most people taking this quiz, isn't it? Five versus one, but the switch just makes the trolley go faster. That's one thing that I've been wondering this whole time. Exactly who's running the trolley anyhow? Don't most of these things have, operators? I mean, you can't exactly just walk up to a convenient switch and just send random trolleys wherever you want them to go, right? They have some kind of security, don't they? But anyway, I'm not touching the switch. Fast or slow, they're doomed, and it doesn't say that it will make it less painful, only that it might. It also might make it worse. Who knows? So I'm going back to lunch. See you all when it's over. And there's 28% of people who just can't read. I picked up on might right away. Now, it's probably a value judgment. It could be. It kind of makes sense to me. But there aren't really any guarantees here, are there? Plus, unless this is being an incredibly slow trolley, how long can it take anyhow? A second or two? What's 1 second versus 2 seconds? Or 1 second versus half a second anyhow? So, yeah, I'm going out for lobster. Anybody want to join me? One guy against a late Amazon delivery. Well, I can take a late Amazon delivery. They're late a lot anyway. So in that case, sure, I'll go ahead and pull the switch. I mean, Amazon's at my door 2 to 3 times a week anyhow, and I'm generally not ordering anything all that time sensitive, so I'll just throw the guy a bone and pull the switch. Now, if they were going to run over my Amazon delivery, that might be a different question, although Amazon, granted, would just replace it. And even though I'm not trying to cost them money unnecessarily, who the hell puts an Amazon delivery on trolley tracks anyhow? So, sure, in this case, I'll just pull it. 79% of people agree, which is fine. I mean, hell, Amazon is late half the time anyhow, so I probably wouldn't even notice. Oh no, Amazon didn't arrive, but it'll be here tomorrow, and if you cancel, you just get a refund, so what difference does it make? I see that a lot. Kind of a pointless question in my opinion. Next! My best friend against 5 strangers. Yeah, I'm pulling the lever. Now, I said earlier that so long as it doesn't affect me personally, which obviously this would, or doesn't have a significant effect on the world, which granted this wouldn't, then I'm just going to leave it alone. Therefore, 5 people go and splat. It starts to get a little strange when you start introducing a personal connection. If it's my wife or my kids or somebody I know and care about on the tracks, then they are getting saved. If it's somebody I absolutely hate, then they're a lot more likely to get squished. If it's somebody I don't even know, then I'm probably just going to walk away, unless there are no consequences whatsoever to saving them, at which point in time, maybe I will, maybe I won't. Not like I hang out next to trolley switches all day long anyhow. I've got too much else to do. 72% of people agree. Probably not with my reasoning, but I think we're all more apt to protect what's important to us personally than to just save random strangers, and that's pretty normal, I figure. With humans being a social species, we've got a relatively short list of people that we actually care about, and everybody else is, well, maybe, with the chances getting slimmer the farther away from the in-group that you get. And I'm just being honest about it, and a lot of people aren't. Now we're back to the original trolley problem, just with bad eyesight, which, yes, I figure is a kind of an interesting take, but it doesn't really change anything, does it? In fact, in this instance, it would probably make me less apt to take part because I can't even be certain what's going on. There could be an entire marching band on the other track for all I know. I'm just going to walk away and let reality happen because I could absolutely be making a massive mistake due to the failure of my own senses. And this would also go if it was just really, really foggy too. Oh look, it's a random switch. Who knows what might happen if I pull it? No, I'm just leaving it alone and I'm going out to eat. "47% of people agree. I guess it just is what it is. Meanwhile, I'm out having a nice lobster dinner, not responsible at all for what happens to all those people who just wind up on the tracks for some inexplicable reason. How is this happening anyhow? I mean, other than the people who tied themselves to the tracks or the idiot who just fell into bondage and deserved it, who is tying all these people up? Is there some rope-happy serial killer out there just tying random people to the trolley tracks? I must have missed that one in the news. Somebody, please explain." So anyway, that's where we're going to stop for today. This is taking a little bit longer than I thought, but I guess there are a lot of possibilities to explore. So what do you think so far? Have you taken this thing? And if so, how did you answer on this half? Don't spoil it for anybody who hasn't seen it yet. Let me know in the comments. Now, as a lot of people know, I don't tend to do a lot of hypothetical content. I want actual answers to actual questions and, hey, what about this? That doesn't tend to qualify. Ask me when it's a real possibility and I'll come up with an answer. But I've been wanting to do this one for a while, and sometimes you just get sick of the religious blather, so here we are. I mean, the alternating videos are Daniel King, so that explains a lot. 2 videos of trolley problem goodness. What does that really tell us, though? Probably not a lot, but at least we can do it and say that we did. And I'll be back next week with the last half, and maybe there's going to be some interesting stuff in there. Who knows? We'll just have to wait and see. So let me ask you this while I'm here. Do you like theoretical questions? Why or why not? I might try to do some more stuff like this if I get enough people who want the hypotheticals. You can throw me some videos or articles or even your own random philosophical questions and maybe y'all get something out of it. I don't know. I don't want to stray too far off the religious reservation, but hey, every once in a while might be fine, right? Anyway, I'll see you next time. You never really know what you're going to get. Should you throw the switch or not? That's the question. But it's not a very good question, especially when there are other options. And that's the part that people really don't want to consider when thinking about the trolley problem. What happens when you go outside of the prescribed box? And that's what we're going to find out today. Stay tuned. Welcome back to part 2 of the trolley problem video that we started last week. Fair warning, things are going to get pretty pointless today, which honestly isn't all that surprising because for a lot of things in philosophy especially, pointless is the name of the game. But I'm not really here to snipe at philosophy unnecessarily. It doesn't need any of my help to look ridiculous in a lot of ways. But we're just here to throw a bunch of switches, or not. Mostly not. So let's get right back to it. Oh no, a trolley is heading towards one of your first cousins. You can pull the lever to divert it to the other track, killing 3 of your second cousins instead. What do? All right, well, first off, I don't personally care about my first cousins. I don't remember if I've talked about them before or not. I think I may have, but I'm not positive. But they are pretty messed up. Let's just say that they are the result of terrible parenting and overactive egos. I haven't seen them in well over a decade now, and if I ever do again, which I really have no interest in, that's entirely fine with me. If a trolley rolled right over them, I doubt anybody on the planet would care. They are completely useless. On the other hand, I don't know if I even have any second cousins. My cousins on my mother's side, the aforementioned wastes of human skin, they never had kids, so nothing there. On my father's side, I know at one point I at least had 2, but they're both dead. So this is really kind of a stupid question, at least in my particular situation. Run them all over, I don't care. Now, I know that we're right back to just overthinking things, but any way you really slice it, given the information and the exact question asked, I really have zero preference. Move them all to the same track and let the trolley go. I don't care. So, as usual, I'm doing nothing. Now granted, this isn't exactly a good way to start off the video, but I've got no control over the questions being asked. In this case, 57% of people agreed with me, presumably because only one person died, but I think this would have been better to be asked without attaching specific people. Just say family members, not just cousins, family members, because I'm sure people can think of family members that they'd want to save. This just wasn't going to do it for me. Next one, 5 old farts versus a baby. Now, there is a lot of ways that you can look at this. You've got 5 old people who have lived whatever lives they've happened to live, but the tank, let's be honest, is almost empty anyhow, so who cares? Cultures used to kill off their elderly to make room for the young. On the other hand, though, babies are easy. Any fool can make a baby, and in fact, lots of fools do. A baby is a blank slate. They don't know anything. They don't have anything of substance to offer, and they suck up a lot of resources while offering nothing of value in return. Yes, I know the parents love babies. I mean, I love mine, but I'm trying to be objective here. So I'm going to go with my standard answer, just let the old farts die. They're not far from it anyhow. 76% of people agree. Now, granted, humans are programmed by evolution to look out for the young because without young people who grew up to reproduce, humanity is toast. However, I think it's interesting that the normal distribution here, kill the least number of people, was completely ignored for this one, most likely because of that predisposition. Now, if it had been anything but a baby, I'm sure the numbers would be switched. For me, though, I'm too busy out getting lunch. Let's see. In this one, I can get run over or one of my clones can get run over. Yeah, I still don't care. Still not pulling that switch, and I wouldn't even if our places on the tracks were reversed. Now, there is a certain amount of self-preservation involved. Most people don't want to die, which leads them to believing in silly religions and the like, but I'm honest enough to admit that I'm old, and while I haven't outlived my usefulness yet, and there are people who would miss me, I'm probably not making the world a much better place as I am right now or anything. Besides, how am I going to pull that lever anyhow? With my teeth? It's too far away in the picture. In this case, I guess I can't go out to lunch, but maybe I can get it delivered. Here, 88% of people agree, which again violates the standard distribution because most people want to survive. And yes, some people are going to say, well, clones are just other copies of you. No, they're not. They might have my memories and personalities at the instant that they were formed, but thereafter, they become entirely different people living entirely different lives, and thus they get no special consideration whatsoever. Besides, I figure the world doesn't need more than one of me around, so there is that. Next! Mystery boxes! One might have 2 people, and the other might have 10 people. Well, they'd have to be some really, really small people, or they're just stuffed in there like cordwood, but I guess that's really neither here nor there. I'm assuming that they both could just have 1 person, although the question doesn't really say. Badly written question, sorry. But again, let's just let it roll. I'm getting hungry. I don't like to play the odds. It's actually kind of close to 50-50, which really, how could it not be? Yes, if you do take time to figure out the odds, you've got a 90% chance of splattering 1 person. Again, assuming there could be 1 person in there because the question doesn't say, versus a 50% chance of splattering another. But I still don't care. If you take actions, you are responsible for the deaths. If you just walk away, you're not. So, splatterino. 5 sentient robots versus a human. Well, I'm sorry, but robots can be rebuilt. Humans, at least with our current technology, which granted can't make sentient robots, but we're going to ignore that for the moment, they can't. But anyhow, I'm still not pulling a lever for the exact same reason that I haven't pulled it before. So, let them die. 85% of people agree with me, although probably not for the same reasons. Well, though I don't know, though. I could be. Who knows? One thing that I have kind of noticed here, though, and yes, this is just a random thought, random observation, is that the number of votes for each question, they seem to vary, don't they? Which I don't know that I really understand. So I went back and I looked at the last question, which was 4.4 million votes, more or less, and this one is 4.3 million. Are people just bombing out of the test? There's no way to pick and choose which questions you answer, because if you don't answer, you don't move on, and you can't just pick none of the above, so I'm going to be keeping an eye on this moving forward. My mind just notices weird things. Three trolleys versus 1 trolley. Okay, first, I don't care about the money. You probably shouldn't park your expensive trolleys on the tracks where they can just get run into. Secondly, let's be honest here. 1 trolley isn't going to be able to plow through 3 trolleys. Physics doesn't work that way. It'll hit the first one and stop, causing little damage to the second and probably none at all to the third. So you're going to get 1 trolley crashed into in either case, so once again, I'm just not pulling that lever. I just want to see if I'm right. 22% of people agree, which leads me to believe that 78% were paying attention, or they weren't thinking, or they don't like watching stuff go boom. So yeah, whatever, I don't care. I don't know what this is even supposed to mean, so let's just move on. Oh, good. An environmental question. Hard pass. Now, I'm still going to do nothing, but I'm kind of curious about the results. 5 people in the scheme of things is nothing, especially over 30 years. In 2023, 61 million people died worldwide. There were 134 million babies born. So I'm not going to cry over those 5 people who died a little more quickly than they might have. I mean, we need birth control, people. Enough is enough. And of course, this got answered emotionally by most people, with 61% of people disagreeing with me. Now, there are other considerations. First, you don't think they're not going to just build another trolley, thus negating the whole act? Secondly, what about the people who ride that trolley? I mean, never mind the people who may or may not have been on it when you just ran it into a wall, but what about the people who rely on that trolley every day to get to work or to go to school or who need it to get to the hospital? Although, who rides a trolley to the hospital? I don't know. But what about them? You've destroyed their only means of transport, and now they're going to die, or whatever. That's probably a little bit, yeah, okay. They're going to suffer. I hope you're proud of yourself, you monster. This is just getting stupid, though, so let's move on. You're reincarnated into everybody.
Oh no. Anyway.
Beyond the fact that reincarnation isn't real, the same thing goes for reincarnation as it does for cloning, it's not you. Therefore, this doesn't matter at all. It just turns into the original trolley problem, and as I did in the original trolley problem, I'm not going to be pulling any levers. "48% of people agree with me. Now, I don't remember what the original figure was way back at the beginning of the last video, but I can't really imagine it should make much of a difference, although, let's be honest, most people who are answering the trolley problem, they're not thinking about any of this rationally. This is a prime example of being overly emotional in action. Lots of people are like that, and I'm just not. Reincarnations of me or otherwise. If anybody wants to go back to the last video and find the figure for the very first problem and post it in the comments, that would be great. No matter what you do, nothing happens. So what do? Nothing. What a complete waste of time. Besides, here they admit that there actually is a trolley driver. And I think I brought that up last week, so no matter what, especially that brick wall example previously, if you smash that trolley into the wall, you're going to kill the driver. Nobody thought of that, did they? And I'm not going to waste my time on this, so, you do you, I guess. Here I don't really think it matters who agrees and who disagrees. It just shows that 64% of people are complete dicks, which I guess isn't much of a surprise. Remember, this is just a prank on the driver, and assuming there are passengers, you're just screwing up their day because you were bored. You've now sent them somewhere they didn't want to go, so, fuck off. You can kill a good citizen, whatever that means, or a litterer. Now, first off, I don't think calling someone a good citizen without clarification matters. Good in what way? Good according to who? Because there's a lot of people out there who claim to be good that I think are just pricks. And a litterer? That's kind of dumb. If they'd said a murderer, then maybe. But that's a matter for the courts, not for some idiot on the side of the road with a switch. So, once again, I'm doing absolutely nothing. I would need a whole lot more clarification before I change the course of events. There's an awful lot of people out there who both trust the person writing these questions and who think that littering makes you worthy of death. Again, people who haven't thought about the actual situation, which I guess really isn't that surprising, is it? But then again, a lot of these questions are just getting silly. But we'll muddle through, as we always do. These questions, they're not exactly getting better, are they? The trolley is going to go around in circles forever unless you blow it up, killing everyone on board. Well, doesn't the trolley have brakes? Can't the conductor, whatever they're called, just stop the stupid thing and let everybody off? Besides, it's not like trolleys move so fast that people can't just, oh, I don't know, jump off? This is a completely pointless question, and that's just ignoring the fact that eternity isn't even a thing. These people are just going to starve to death long before that. I mean, maybe I'd jump on and take people's lunch orders and just go grab them something from a local restaurant, maybe make a little money on the side, but let's be honest, this is really just dumb. So that's 58% of people who would just murder everybody on a slow-moving trolley that could easily just jump off if they wanted to. This is why I don't do these hypothetical questions, because they're always just dumb. Well, what would you do if this incredibly unlikely sequence of events happened that anybody with half a brain cell could easily get out of with no effort required? Go fuck off, won't ya? Go find something better to do with your time, because this is just stupid. Anyhow, there's just a couple more. The trolley versus your worst enemy. Well, I don't have any worst enemies. I don't even think I have any enemies, much less a worst one. What's the point? I don't hate people, even the people who really probably deserve it. I pity them because most of them are just stupid. So, would I save my worst enemy if I had one? No. And I love how they say that no one would ever know. Well, the trolley conductor would, right? He'd be running over the guy after all. He would obviously know that something happened, even if he couldn't find out why. They might not know that you did it because you didn't do anything. You didn't switch the tracks to kill your worst enemy. You just didn't save them, which, last I checked, isn't a crime. Nobody's going to look down on you, and nobody's going to even know you stood there and watched. Nothing says you have to save these people. So, no, Splat City. And it's about a 50-50 split again, which, okay, whatever. I don't really know how much there is to say about that other than the fact that we're down to 3.7 million votes, so let's just acknowledge that and move on. Okay, this one, yeah, I don't even know how the hell this works. Trolleys don't cause loss of lifespan. Yes, I know these are just hypotheticals, but have I said how much I hate pure hypotheticals? Besides, even if you did lower the lifespan of 5 people by 10 years each, that doesn't mean they're actually going to live that long, right? You know, cancer's a thing, accidents, you name it. You don't have a pre-programmed lifespan. You just die when you die. You die when shit happens. So again, I'm not doing anything because the question itself is just nonsensical. 64% of people disagree with me, which again just shows that people aren't thinking about the absurdity of the questions. Now, I know they're not supposed to, but I don't care. You have to think about the things that you consider, otherwise you're just being an emotional idiot, and that describes the vast majority of people out there. It's why the world is the way that it is. People just aren't bright enough to say, hey, wait a minute, when the stupid stuff goes by. You can kill 5 people now, or you can kill 5 people in 100 years. Well, ignoring the fact that time travel is not, at least based on what we currently know, even possible, what difference does it make? 5 people is 5 people. Now, maybe I can rationalize that in 100 years, they will have the technology that saves those 5 people. Maybe they have, I don't know, magic anti-trolley suits that they wear after the catastrophic trolley wars of 2099. But at the end of the day, I'm still not going to do anything. Those idiots shouldn't have been on the tracks in the first place. And 71% of people are idiots. I figure this is just, well, I don't want to kill anybody that I can see. Let people who I'll never know die instead. Now, I know that the trolley problem is, at its core, a moral conundrum. How would you deal with the situation if you were actually in it? Now, granted, these questions just keep getting sillier and sillier, but I am just not capable of turning off my rational brain. I have to look at these things and go, well, yeah. Because if it's not possible, then it's just not worth wasting my time on. Again, this is why I don't do these pure hypotheticals, because I've got absolutely no good reason to consider the consequences. And if I don't need to consider the consequences, I'm not going to. So take that as you will. Free will. Joy. Do you have a choice, or is everything predetermined? Well, obviously, you do have a choice, or you wouldn't be in the middle of this silly quiz, would ya? I would just not pick either option. I could go out to lunch and turn my computer off, which is what it looks like a lot of people are doing since the number of votes just keeps going down. So yes, I do have a choice, and I am exercising that choice by clicking on the button. Let's watch. Now, I don't know what running over someone had to do with the question, but I guess they had the animation already. Might as well use it, right? I just have to ask, of the 36% who disagree, why are they taking this quiz to begin with? Are they honestly not capable of getting up and going and doing something else? Oh, but I was predetermined to get up. This gets into bald rationalization territory, doesn't it? Which is exactly what we see in religion. It gets really, really stupid, and I've done these videos on free will before, so I don't really want to get into it again too deeply. But when you ask these people to justify their positions, with evidence, of course, they've got absolutely nothing demonstrable to say. They're doing absolutely nothing differently than the religious do. It's all just fifis in faith. And that's still just dumb. Hey, I only killed 85 people. That was pretty amazing. Well, actually, I didn't kill anyone because I didn't take any actions which resulted in the deaths of any of the cartoon figures on screen. I spent most of my time out at lunch, and it was good, yes. I am not morally culpable for any of it, which is why I did it the way that I did. Who would you rather kill? That's not a valid question in my mind. I'd rather kill nobody, and in what I did, mostly, I didn't kill anyone. Well, maybe one or two questions if I ever touched the switch, I might have, but I don't really remember, and for the most part, I just let the situation play out as it would have without any interference on my part. I have no obligation to save anyone. I spent most of my time out having a good lunch, and that's the way it went. I get lots of people who get upset at me for doing that too. But you're supposed to do something. Really? Says who? Because I have no obligation to do anything. I don't have to make lives better. That is not my responsibility. I'm just not making any lives worse, which for the people who would have theoretically died had I taken action, it absolutely would have been. I would have been responsible for their demise, but by doing nothing, I'm not. It would have been my fingerprints on that switch, whereas my way, my hands are completely clean. Plus, in many cases, the real solution would have been just to run down and untie the idiots on the tracks before the trolley arrived, because, they don't move that fast. Or just running over and flagging down the driver. Of course, these questions never take that into account, do they? And for somebody like me, who doesn't turn off their rational brain, I tend to think outside of the prescribed box. I don't care what you want me to do. I don't care what two options you've given me. Screw your options. I'm doing what I'm going to do. I care about how things can be most efficiently and effectively done. I don't know. Maybe that's just me, but that's me. What do you think? If you took this quiz, how many people did you kill? Let me know down in the comments. I'm not really a fan of these kinds of things because I don't think it really tells us anything useful. other than that you can push a button or pull a switch or whatever from a limited supply available on screen and do what they want you to do. I don't do what people want me to do. I do what I think is the best thing to do, and that's usually not an option. Because the way that these are done, I'm not really interested, except as a means to show just how pointless it all really is. If I wanted to do pointless things, then I just look at religion, which, yeah, alright, if you excuse me, I really need to get back to that, don't I? So I guess I'll see you all next time.